What's up, guys? So it's time for another Fuckboy of the Month, and this month's Fuckboy of the Month goes to a guy we're gonna call Eli. So Eli is a guy I met. He was in his mid-30s when I was 23, so he was like about a decade older. And I met him at a bar, at a gay bar called Phoenix in the East Village in New York City, for anybody who knows that bar. And I was walking out of the bathroom and he stopped me and he was like, "Whoa, you have the coolest eyes I've ever seen," or something about my eyes. He really liked my eyes, and he was like, "You almost look like a cat," which is an unusual thing to say to somebody, you know, in general, but also like in trying to hit on them. But for me, I thought that was like a fascinating thing to say to somebody, because it's so easy to be like, "Oh, you're so good looking," or "You're so sexy," or "You're so whatever." So the fact that he had this weird compliment, I don't know, I was kind of intrigued by it. So Eli, we start chatting at this bar, and then he has to head out with his friends, so we exchange numbers, and then days later, I'm running to Penn Station, New York City, to catch a train back to New Jersey. And he's calling me as I'm running, so I don't answer it, right? Like, I'm too busy. When I get to the train back to New Jersey, I text him and I'm like, "Hey, did you call me?" Because it's so rare that somebody calls you that early on in the communication, that it's like in that movie, Trainwreck with Amy Schumer. I was just convinced that he butt dialed me or something. I was like, this can't be. So I texted him, I was like, "Hey, did you call me?" I was convinced that it was by accident, and he never responds. So a few weeks go by and I'm like, damn, like, this is so weird. Like, this guy expressed all this interest and then now he has totally disappeared, right? So I make the effort, I reach out, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I dropped the ball on this, like, things have been crazy." This was a few years ago when I was more, even more selective, I would say, and even judgmental, and I just was so turned off that this guy, like, forgot about me. So I was like, "Sorry, like, thanks, but no thanks." Kind of like, I don't know, I guess, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess maybe I wanted him to be like, "Oh, my grandma died. Sorry, I've been really busy." I don't know what I was thinking, because it would have been hard for him to say anything that would have made him worth, in my mind at that time, worth talking to still. I don't know if that makes sense. But the point is, he kept trying, and then he called me immediately. He was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, all right, he's making an effort. Why not? So we end up saying we're going to get a smoothie together or something, because it was like right when it was starting to get hot out. It was like early summer. We meet up, and as soon as I arrive to meet up with him in the East Village, the neighborhood where he lives and where we met, a block or two away from where he lives, it starts raining like crazy. And so at that point, he's like, "You should just come over. I'll make you a smoothie at my apartment." Now, obviously, I'm like, okay, I'm just meeting him. Is this going to turn into a hookup? Like, is this a good idea? But I was like, I don't even, like, who cares? Let me, he wants to make me a smoothie at his place. Why not? So I go over to his place, and then I'm trying to remember why I never got the smoothie that I wanted. But we start talking, and he's making himself a salad, and he's very flirtatious, and then we start kissing, and I was like, "Oh, I just met you, like, it's a first date, I don't want to go down that route." But then we start kissing and making out. Nothing happened, but this was the extent of it. It was just a very, we'll say, erotic encounter, but nothing happened. Just a lot of kissing and very, like, romantic and sensual. And then I'm like, all right, this guy's, like, kind of interesting. So then I find out while hanging out with him that he is a teacher, and that means that because it's early summer, he has the whole summer off, and he's going to be out of town the entire summer. He said that he's going to go to LA for a month, and then I think he said he was going to Turkey for a month. So, and I'm half Turkish. This detail comes back later in the story. So he tells me this, and I'm like, oh crap, I just met this guy, and he's about to leave the country for a while. And I'm like, well, we should definitely hang out before you leave. He's like, absolutely. So I think we plan to meet that Friday again. So that Friday again, you know, we've made like casually plans to hang out, but like nothing concrete, just that we'll meet up Friday, because he leaves Saturday for 2 months, right? So I'm out with my friends, and then I guess he's out doing whatever, and I'm waiting to like hear from him, and I don't hear from him. At this point, I've had a few drinks, and so I'm like, I'll just make the move. But I'm turned off. It's another red flag of like, you should have been on top of this. Like, you know, I feel like you should be reaching out to me and making the effort, right? So I reach out and he responds, and it turns out he's also intoxicated. And he's like, oh, I don't know if we should hang out tonight because I'm a little drunk. And, you know, you said you didn't want things to, like, end up a certain way with that coming first before getting to know somebody. And at this point now I'm like drunk and I'm like, I don't care, let's hang out. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I just didn't care at that point if it was a hookup or whatever, but I also knew he was going to leave for 2 months and I didn't want to maintain contact with somebody via text who I've met once. So he's like, oh, okay, I guess you can come over, but I don't know. And he's just acting very hesitant. And again, I'm drunk at this point. I'm like, I'm coming over. So I'm going through the East Village. We're still texting, and then radio silence. And I'm in his neighborhood in a cab, drunk at like 2 in the morning, and I'm so pissed that like we've been going back and forth. At this point, I'm livid. Also, remember, I'm drunk. So I send this long, angry text of like, what the fuck? Like, I gave you another shot, and I assumed he fell asleep on me, but I didn't know that for sure. But I'm pissed off that even that could be a possibility. Like, what a turnoff. So the next day, I wake up and I don't hear from him. And I calm down a little bit and I'm like, okay, he's human. Like, he was hesitant about us hanging out. Like, maybe he was exhausted. He's a human being. He was drunk. He fell asleep. Maybe I was a little aggressive or something I barely knew. So I got a little self-conscious about it. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have done that. But I still wait. A few days go by. Still don't hear from him. And I finally reach out and I'm like, look, maybe I overreacted. You know, how are things going? How's California? And he responds almost immediately and he's like, oh, hey, like, how's it going? Again, I don't know what I was expecting, but I got totally turned off because I'm like, are you not even going to address what happened that night? And not even like a little bit of an apology or an explanation that you fell asleep or something. And I think I didn't say it. I think I just said something like, I was kind of worried because I didn't hear from you at all. I was like, did something happen? And he's like, oh no, everything's fine. How are you doing? So at this point, I was totally turned off. A few months later, he comes back from Turkey and he sends me a text in Turkish because I speak Turkish. And I think, honestly, being in Turkey for a month made him keep thinking about me. And he hits me up and he texts me in Turkish, which looking back was actually kind of cool and cute, but I don't respond because I was still so like in my feelings that this guy wasted my time, or at least that was how I felt, that I was kind of like enraged that he would text me coming back. It's like, you haven't put in the work, dude. Like, you weren't there when we were in the same town, and then now you expect me to give you attention now that you're coming back. It rubbed me the wrong way, and looking back, maybe I was a little overdramatic. Now I'd probably give the guy another chance because there were certain components that were kind of sweet, like the Turkish text and the fact that he even remembered me after a few months. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, based on the guys I've tried to date and get to know after him, they were even less thoughtful. So I wish maybe I'd given him another thought, but it is what it is. I just feel like you have to know what you want and you have to go for it, and that's how I am, and that's what I want back. So that's the fuckboy of the month, Eli. You done fucked up. That's how I feel about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was I being over dramatic, or do you feel like, you know, the lack of the response, and then the falling asleep thing, and then the coming back and thinking I'd be into it would be annoying as well? Let me know in the comments what you think.